Hi, Miss Covered in Paint here with another episode of Critique Me Not. Here we've got my character Life from junior high story that I wrote called Angel Story. And it was a 150-page story, novel, writing, fanfic thing of drawing angels fighting Final Fantasy. And we can see here that this girl, she's got some long arms, yo. Look how long they would be if they were down. That's difficulty. Also, this composition is super pushed to the top. And yeah, so Life is kind of a hybrid mixed character between me, Yuna from Final Fantasy, and Riku, Weapons. So she's not that great and original, and this whole pose is just kind of crap. So we're gonna start all over and do something better. I decided, it took me a really long time to come up with this just because it was such a horrible, idea and drawing, and it's just hard to go back and draw sometimes, things that were really shallow or not original. And so instead of redrawing something like that, I decided to improve it by thinking of how I could, relate to this story if I had to reboot it, redraw the story, rewrite the story, redo the whole story. What elements would I keep and what would I change? And when you reboot a story, you always, can scrap everything and just keep the name. But, I like to know what it is exactly that gets to the heart of the character and, the story. What did I want to convey, really? And, I wasn't thinking like this when I was 13. I was like, I'm going to write something that I like. And what I like is pretty much everything I see on TV and in video games. And I just want to make it my own version. But it's going to be exactly the same, just with my own characters. And my own characters are not going to be characters I made up, but characters that I am splicing together in order to make something perfect, which is in essence, a Mary Sue. So yeah, why did I create such a crazy story? Well, I just wanted to, that's just what you do when you're, 13, 12 years old. I think it started when I was 12. I wrote it the summer before I went into junior high, and then I stuck with it until I was a freshman in high school. So 3 years, 150 pages, 3 years of just plotless, directionless writing that will never see the light of day ever again. I really don't know where the file is. It probably burnt itself. The computer was like, this is just so horrible, we're going to corrupt it. It's just gone. So anyway, here I am rebooting the story, and I'm thinking about it, what am I gonna draw? What is there to draw? This original picture was nothing. It didn't have anything. I think it was the final fight scene where she's got her arms up with her weapons, I've defeated the bad guy, I got her necklace, and now I'm done. And that's, was that the end? I didn't really have an ending plan, so part of this was thinking, what would have the ending of the story been, And the whole concept of the story is it's this angel, not a biblically based angel, but this just fantasy angel chick who lives above the clouds. She gets banished, she ends up on Earth, and she has to find her way back because this is not her home. And she ends up having to fight the person who sent her there, who I didn't really give her a motive for being there, but I haven't thought that through. Anyway, she would have beat her and gotten her way back home. So here in this picture, this is I would think the real ending is Life gets to go home. She gets to go back and leave Earth and return to the heavenly places where she's from. So I've got her reaching up to the heavens because that's where heaven is, It's in the clouds, you guys. It's in the clouds. So she's reaching up. I'm using reference here. I looked up reaching to the sky, and I just Googled that and looked at a bunch of photos, and then I grabbed one that kind of portrayed the angle I wanted. Her face is not as up as it should be in the photo, partially because you lose kind of the face when you do that. So I wanted to still be this is Life, this is her face, we can recognize her, but you have to be able to push it so that it actually looks like she's looking up correctly, which is a struggle when you're 13 or just starting out drawing. That's the reason why everything is so flat when you're young, is because it's you don't have the grasp of space or 3D moving in space. Drawing anything 3D is difficult when you're a kid. That's why it's so cool that you can draw a cube, right? Anyone else have that where you're look kids, I can draw a cube? Kids are what? Throw it down, man. So anyway, here's my drawing developing, and you can just see that overall is more dynamic. The composition has got a different sense of space, and the pose is just more, I think, realistic. But anyway, let's continue to talk about 13-year-old fanfics here, you guys. Like, how many of you have written a fanfic? Now, be honest. It's okay. You can be honest with yourself. I can't hear you when you say yes, me, or I can't see your hands when you raise them. But yeah, I feel like everybody kind of goes through that phase when you're like 12 or 13 years old. Some people never grow out of that phase. They're still writing fanfic to this day. They're like 50 something. But anyway, not to say fanfic's bad. It's just okay. It's okay. But yeah, no, it's just something that like hits you like, I could make something like this, but I'm just gonna copy or like use these characters. Or maybe is it like that your show that you're watching, you're disappointed that it ended, you wanted to keep going, or something didn't happen because the artist or the writers or the show got cut short, or they just didn't want that to happen, and you're like, no, that needs to happen. This couple needs to get together. This kiss scene needs to happen, and it never happened. I don't know. What was it for you? I'd love to hear in the comments, like, what inspired you to write a story with your own characters or with already created characters. For me, it was that I just loved Final Fantasy so much. I loved Final Fantasy cutscenes, I loved the character designs, and I loved action, and I never wanted the action to stop. And so part of my motivation for creating like Angel Story was to take my favorite Final Fantasy characters that I didn't really know. Like, I hadn't played the games. I'd only played like Final Fantasy X at that point. So Yuna was the only character really, Yuna and Riku. But I had characters like Rinoa, I had Quizits, I had Titus, Squall, I had that one girl, like the bad guy was based off of the girl from Underworld. And it's just so funny because I hadn't even seen Underworld. I was 12. That was a rated R movie. This is definitely not something I saw. But at Blockbuster, whoa, take it back there. Blockbuster used to have a giant poster for Underworld, and every day when I'd go to the grocery store, I would see it, and I'd be like, that girl looks so awesome, but she looks like a bad guy, so she's gonna be a bad guy in my story. Which is kind of, you know, I don't know. That's how we are when we're young. You just get inspired. I think as artists too, we're inspired by what we see around us in our environments and our experiences, but when you're young, you don't really know how to harness that, so it's kind of like all of a sudden you'll be like, I'm inspired by Pikachu, and I just want to draw all the Pikachus, or Sonic. I need to make my Sonic fan fiction now with me, so I can be with Sonic, because he's so cool. That was never, I never watched Sonic, but I've heard that a lot of people, they suffer from that. But anyway, yeah, this story was just Final Fantasy inspired. I took a lot of scenes. This whole premise is this girl going to a boarding school. So I think it was also really inspired by Harry Potter, but it was based in America, in my hometown that I was from. But the boarding school never really existed. We don't have boarding schools where I'm from. So I was kind of like trying to make my own version of like a Final Fantasy Hogwarts, which I guess would be kind of like Final Fantasy VIII and the whole like, what is it, CD thing. But kind of like that, but more like a normal high school. The characters were all like in their senior year, which is funny because I think if I showed up like my senior year, I would not bother going to school. I'd be like, I'm already 17, I'm good, like I'm not going, I'm fine. But for some reason this character, she has to go. I never explained why she has to go. It's just, you know, you're underage, you have to go to school, right? And so it's kind of slice of life-ish with random battles in the middle of it, which is sort of ridiculous and dumb. And I wasn't very good at writing, but I definitely think writing was therapeutic and fun and a great outlet. You know, some people go out and like beat people up. So I would say writing is a great way to, I don't know, channel aggressive energy and like dispel it. Because it's like, it's so exhausting writing. Like, trust me, you're like, I just need to go punch someone. I'm going to write about it. And then you'll be so tired by the end of it that you won't feel that way. You're like, never mind, I'm just going to go take a nap. I'm going to go lay down on the couch, watch some TV. But, yeah, anyway, so as a kid, I really, really enjoyed writing. I wasn't, and it was interesting too because it was right before I started drawing, and so I couldn't draw. I didn't think of drawing. I didn't see myself as an artist. I just wanted to write. I wanted to see those movies and games and cutscenes again and again and again, and I just wanted to like create my own, but I couldn't because I can't draw. And so I wrote, and I think writing is amazing. And it's funny because I feel like a lot of writers, I was talking about this with my roommate, they want to be like artists, like they want a visual artist, like drawing, but they can't, so they write. But then like artists like me, like cartoonists, it's like we can draw our stories, but then we feel like it's not as eloquent or as like cool as like a novel. And so it's kind of funny because they're both really well, like cool ways to tell stories, but we're kind of envious of each other's talents because trust me, they're very different talents and they're very awesome talents. So if you can write, go you, and if you can draw, go you. The world kind of gets mixed up, I think, sometimes with comics and writing. You know, you get like, you know, artists will write and they get an artist to draw their comic, and it's like it's never how you envisioned it. And then the same way with, I think, the other way, you know, you're an artist and you draw, but you never get a story someone else wrote that like really speaks to you 100%. You know, we always have our own interpretation or vision. And I think that's why it's important. Like a lot of artists do their own independent projects because it's just nice. But yeah, so this is the story, 150 page Nowhere story, and I think if I was to reboot it, which I might do more because I have more drawings of this character and we'll be talking about her a lot because this is all I drew other than Final Fantasy stuff and video game fan art when I was 13 years old. But yeah, no, I think the heart of the story is about a girl who gets sent away from her home and she's trying to get back. I think it would be more interesting if she left home purposefully more than she got banished against her will. Or that if she actually did something to get banished. Because I had it in the original story, she just like gets kicked out for no reason. Kind of like a mob thing. But no, it would be interesting if she actually, you know, had character development. What a word. And, you know, had to overcome some personal flaws and some critical problem solving, because, you know, how do you get back up to a magical heavenly world? You know, you don't exactly just like take a plane or skydive or a really, really tall ladder, I guess, maybe, but I don't know. So I love doing that too. It's really great to like read really bad stories, watch really bad movies, reboot stuff, and just make it better, because I feel like you're using a different part of your brain than when you're purely creating from scratch. And it's a really fun exercise. I definitely encourage you guys to give it a try. If you do, let me know what you like to reboot or redraw or redo. But yeah, so for the next couple episodes, I think next episode we're going to do some Final Fantasy fan art. But I know there's definitely at least like 3 other drawings of Life and her little school posse that we're going to have coming up here in the future. And so I don't know, I'll be thinking about ways that we can reboot the story, and I'll tell you guys, you know, you can let me know if it's interesting. But anyway, here's our original. You can see big changes the last 12 years, you guys. And here we've got Life reaching up, she's going back. Ta-da! So let me know what you think in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Critique Me Not. Let me know if you have a story that you've written that's really long, over 150 pages. I will commend you. Anyway, see you later. Bye!